Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
A very good evening. This is Primetime News. Well, the footage which you just witnessed was when water was collected from 6 tanks in the country for the Gamming Gammata Vaving Vavat initiative, a survey on the country's irrigation system which will begin tomorrow. Well, more details on the initiative coming up on the news, but first a look at tonight's headlines.
Sri Lanka Freedom Party appoints new electoral and district organisers. Sri Lankan delegation to travel to Russia for talks on removing temporary restrictions imposed on Sri Lankan tea. Minister Rauf Hakim cautions the United National Party. All set for Gammadda Gamin Gammata Vavin Vavati initiative, a survey on the country's irrigation system.
Starting off the news with a developing story this evening. Now, several new electoral and district organisers for the Sri Lanka Freedom Party were appointed today. The letters of appointments were handed over by the President at the President's official residence.
M.S.M. Sakula was appointed as a joint organiser for the Nigambu electorate. D.R. Induguna Telaka, M. Nihal Vijayananda and G.K. Upali Chandrasena were appointed as organisers for the Ratnapura district. Shakthira Rajaputra Veerasinghe and Mahinda Bandara Bakmiwava received their letters of appointment as organisers for the Kurunegala district of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The President's Media Division said Chandranath Veeraman was appointed as Mathura district organiser and Y.J. Bandula Sarath Kumara as the Gamadula district organiser. Further, the President's Media Division added former Vice Chairman of the Mahoya Pradesh Sabha, K.T. Senarath of the United National Party and R.M.C.M. Gunaratna, a UMP Youth Front activist of Mahoya, met and pledged their support to the President.
Now, speaking to the media following an event in Chandi, Treasurer of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, Minister S.B. Dissanayake, commented on the current status of the party.
When T.B. Ilangaratne, Vijay Kumarathunga and Chandrika left the party, its General Secretary and Chairman as well as the Vice Secretary left. When Maithripala Senanayake left the party, the General Secretary left. So did the Vice Leader Stanley Tilakaratne. The Senior Vice Chairman Halim also left. But this time, when the party's former chairman and current advisor Mahinda Rajapaksa left for the flower bud, neither of his Secretary Susil Premajayantha and Andhra Priyadarshana Yapa, who were removed from their post, left. None of the party's senior vice chairman D.M. Jaratne, Nimal Siripala De Silva and John Senimiratne left. It was just a bunch of kids who left. As a party, everyone is with Maithripala Sirisena. The Ceylon Workers' Congress is with us. 50% of the Mahajan Eksat Perumana is with us. Vimal Veerwansa's party defected and joined us. Maithripala Sirisena personally tried to reunite this. Basil thinks his protection for the crimes he committed depends on our defeat. Mahinda and Namal think their journey to 2025 depends on the destruction of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. The situation of the United National Party isn't all that good. Given the central bank issue and others, there's a sense of frustration among the people. So the situation is advantageous to us. Our candidates are clean and untainted. The people must vote for untainted individuals. If someone is not suitable, don't vote for that person. Remember the shady contract on the proposed Central Expressway? Phase 1 of the Central Expressway has been constructed with a loan from the China's Exim Bank. Phase 2 from the 2 state banks and Phase 3 has been constructed through a commercial loan from the Tokyo Mitsubishi Bank in Japan, obtained at high interest rates under strict conditions. Public protests to Phase 2, which is being constructed disregarding environmental impact assessment reports. Massive controversy surrounding the construction of Phase 3 of the Central Expressway. Contract granted to 2 Japanese companies violating tender procedure. Loan obtained at high interest rates instead of state concessionary credit from the Japanese government. Decision to award the contract for rupees 134 billion when the engineering estimate costed the project at rupees 123 billion. One of the companies which has been awarded the contract faces allegations by the Japan Fair Trade Commission for tender fraud. While such projects are beneficial to the country, isn't the lack of transparency and good governance harmful to the nation? Minister Kiriella, the people are watching closely on the matter.
Now, the JVP was critical over unemployment in the northern province of the country. JVP MP Sunil Handuneti made note of this during a meeting at the Eastern Province Governor's office.
Graduates in the Eastern Province, especially in the Batticaloa district, have been demonstrating for more than 150 days over employment issues. Since March 2012, they have not been given jobs. However, there are over 400 vacancies for graduate teachers in the Eastern Province, especially in the Batticaloa district. There are vacancies for development officers. The request is simple: appoint these people for those positions. It is a very serious issue if graduates from areas battered by the war for 3 decades are still left unemployed. We urge the government to fill these vacancies at least after the elections. If they are short of funds, there's plenty of money they can reclaim, such as the money looted from the central bank treasury bond issue and the expressway. They can reclaim those funds and make allocations for the employment opportunities of these graduates. We are here to force them to do that.
Have we forgotten? Richard Aruna Benedict Dias, the Deputy General Manager of Pan Asia Bank, exposed to the Commission how Perpetual Treasuries Limited had used PABC as an intermediary to sell bonds to the Employees Provident Fund. He said PABC performed the role on the directive of former PABC Chairman Nimal Pereira. Dias testified before the Commission for several days, starting from the 7th of July. On the 30th of June, Arjun Aloysius had telephoned Dias and pleaded to meet with him and said he needs support. This was a month after Dias had given a statement to the CID officers assisting the Commission. Aloysius offered a position at PTL to Dias if he loses his job. Dias rejected all offers. In the days that followed, Richard Dias was involved in consultations with the Attorney General's Department. Arjun Aloysius called him 3 times. Dias ignored all calls. On the 4th of July, 3 days before testifying, Dias received a call from his former chairman, Nimal Pereira. Pereira offered employment if Dias is let go by PABC. Richie Dias strongly believed both Aloysius and Nimal Pereira had contacted him and offered jobs to prevent him speaking the truth about the intermediary role played by PABC. An individual named Shanil Nettikumar, claiming to be a relative of former Finance Minister Ravi Karnanayake, made death threats to the family of a witness who testified at the Commission.
What is it to my uncle, my son? I will, with interest I will give all you. Remember that.
Sorry?
What is it to Uncle Ravi, my son? I will give interest. Remember that.
Nettikumar was reportedly absconding the CID. On the 7th of December, Fort Magistrates Court ordered the Controller of Immigration and Immigration to prevent Nettikumar from leaving the country.
Have we forgotten?
The tenure of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the bond issue will end in 15 days. The people await the decision of the Bond Commission.
The 2015 and 2016 bond scams, the biggest theft in Sri Lankan history. Who should be held responsible for this grand theft? Who caused millions and millions in losses to the country's state banks? Who stole EPF money, the wealth you earned with your own sweat and blood? Who bowed down to fraud and corruption and allowed this massive theft? The entire nation awaits the final report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on the issuance of Treasury bonds. The first to expose the bond scam, Newsfirst.
Daily news are at home. Now the new bus stop and weekly fare in Nivithigala was declared open today. The opening was attended by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
The prices of goods have increased, which has made it difficult for a lot of people. Wherever I go, I am asked about rice, coconuts and spreads. I think this is something which hasn't happened in a long time. This is a matter related to climate change, is what we believe. The Cabinet Subcommittee on Cost of Living convened under my presence, where we decided to provide goods at a concessionary price. That process has begun, but has not reached the villagers as yet.
Minister of Plantation Industries Navin Dissanayake has announced all measures are being taken to remove the temporary restrictions imposed by Russia on Sri Lankan tea. Now a delegation is to fly off to Russia in due course to hold talks with the Russian government on this matter.
Sri Lanka Tea Board said another round of talks will take place on Monday to remove the temporary restrictions on Sri Lankan tea. The Russian representatives of the Sri Lanka Tea Board is to meet with the Russian agriculture safety watchdog. Yesterday, reports surfaced the watchdog had taken the decision to impose restrictions after it found an insect known as cupra beetle in the packaging of one consignment of tea from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's main tea exports are to Russia, with a revenue of 19 billion rupees generated during the past 9 months from exporting 25 million kilograms of tea.
A coconut plantation is a rather unusual place to convene a media briefing. But that is what Namal Karunaratne, the national organizer of the All Ceylon Peasants Federation, did today to raise a serious concern.
Children, as taught in school, Sri Lanka's traditional exports are tea, rubber and coconut. Coconut, which was an export, has now become an import. From 2014 to 2016, the area in which coconut cultivations took place dropped by 64%. As a whole, the entire coconut industry has collapsed. In the country, coconut estates are being destroyed without any understanding. We demand it be stopped. It must be prohibited by law. Take a look at a single coconut. The government has imposed a price of 75 rupees as the maximum retail price. How is that done? How can you impose a maximum price of a coconut like this? Concessionary loans at low interest must be given to the local coconut industry, and facilities must be made available to the cultivators so they can reap a better harvest. The joint opposition is a bit excited about this. When Johnson was the Minister of Trade, Bandula imported coconuts and made an issue. When they were in government, they imported a shipload of coconuts. The coconuts were imported under the government of Mahinda Rajapaksa. They must not speak as if they have risen from the dead. Mahinda Rajapaksa governed for 2 decades. This issue did not arise in the past 2 years.
The shortage of fertilizer for cultivations has caused serious issues for the farmers in the Rajarat area. Now, over the past few days, we reported on this issue from several angles. Tonight, we report to you how the issue has had an impact in Anuradhapura.
The farming families in Kuttampokuna and Galkulam areas in Anuradhapura depend on the Halpanu Canal project for their agricultural needs. The farmers claim they were battered by arid weather in the recent days, and authorities are yet to address their issues. At present, these farmers can be seen working tirelessly in their fields with the sole objective of survival together with their families, and not with an anticipation of castles. The only issue they raise is they are not given sufficient fertilizer for their paddy lands. In a country where waste and misuse has taken its toll, why are authorities following a lethargic policy towards addressing the issue of the farmer? This is the only question the farming families in Rajarata ask.
For thousands of years, Sri Lanka was known the world over as the rich granary in the eastern world. At a time when we boast our rich and proud history of how we were back in the day, statements are being made that 100,000 tons of rice will be imported to the country every month to meet the demand of rice consumption in the country. It is true we must feed the people must eat. But where is the problem? Where did we go wrong? Who is supposed to be held accountable for not releasing sufficient stocks of fertilizer to the farmers, for not releasing sufficient amount of water for the cultivations? That is the issue. Recently, a cartoon that circulated on social media said that the wholesalers in Petta are better for governance because they import and distribute on time. Sri Lanka's agriculture is always linked with irrigation. However, irrigation in Sri Lanka is right now looking in a very bad shape. The world history records Sri Lanka as one of the only countries in the world where settlements are always located near a water source, and that is how our rich irrigation system was known the world over. But in order to identify why our irrigation system is in a very bad shape, Newsfirst has decided to launch the Gammadda Gamin Gamata Vavin Vavata initiative, which will take place at the Malwatu Oya Basin in Palugaswawa. The Gammadda Gamin Gamata Vavin Vavata is an initiative which aims to preserve these ancient creations for the future generations. The survey on the irrigation system in Sri Lanka will begin tomorrow as phase 1. A Newsfirst team called on the chief prelates of the Asgiri and Malwatu chapters to create awareness on the Gammadda Gamin Gamata Vavin Vavata initiative and receive blessings.
There's a system which has been created together with 6 to 7 tanks. We have identified around 700 such systems in Sri Lanka. One such system is what you find with the Bellankadavala tank in Padugaswawa. We will study the system, create a model and try to do something about it with the villagers. It might cost quite a bit, but we believe we can do something good for the country. We are conducting a survey in phase 1. We will look into the shortcomings of these tanks. Thereafter, we will compile a report and submit it to the government to seek their assistance to renovate them. Many of our ancient irrigation systems are facing a plethora of issues due to the lack of maintenance and negligence. Both the Asgiri and Malwatu Viharas express our gratitude to the Citizen Media Network for identifying the need to renovate these tanks.
Amidst the blessings of the Mahasangha, water was collected from 6 tanks in the country.
The story of King Pandukabhaya, the first king of Anuradhapura, is enveloped in myth and legend. One tangible legacy he left the nation began 2,400 years ago, with the creation of what was to become one of the most advanced irrigation systems of the ancient world. When early settlers chose the dry zone as their home, they required water to support agriculture for their survival. King Pandukabhaya built Basavakkulama, Sri Lanka's first tank, called a Vava. The beginning of this remarkable irrigation system was thousands of years ahead of its time. Built with impeccable attention to detail, this ancient system continues to fascinate and baffle modern engineers. The Vavas were built in the high ground, so that water would flow smoothly into a complex network of canals and smaller vavas, and then cascade into low-lying agricultural lands. Not only did the creation of this system meet the people's need for their very survival and livelihood, but also met a spiritual and religious need. Stupas were built in close proximity, utilizing the earth which was dug up to construct the vavas, and in doing so, the king reaffirmed his loyalty to Buddhism and the land. As a result, the Gamai Pansalai Vavai Dagabai, or the twin concept of the village and temple tank and stupa, was interwoven into the cultural and spiritual fabric of this island nation, providing people as well as animals with food and water for centuries. There is no English equivalent for the word Vava, as every other civilization was built around rivers, while Sri Lanka's was built around the Vava. Over time, this unique technological wonder has gradually fallen into disrepair and disuse and no longer provides water for life on this island. Newsfirst and the University of Peradeniya are committed to finding out the full extent of this tragedy, how it came about and how our heritage could be restored. The Gammatha Gamin Gamata Vaven Vavata initiative begins at the Malwathu Oya Basin, the birthplace of Sri Lanka's documented history.
Leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, Minister Rauf Hakim, says his party is monitoring the actions of the United National Party.
A minister believes the United National Party is the boss and one cannot do anything without them. So we are carefully watching the United National Party. This is the season when wild elephants are killed. The Dalaputua was killed to take the Gajamukta or the elephant pearls. We in the United National Party want to get onto it and steer it. It does not matter how the elephant is. We are like the mahouts that take the elephant on a journey.
Deputy Leader of the United National Party and Minister of Housing and Construction, Sajid Premadasa, made a monetary donation in Tissamaharama today.
A sum of 500,000 rupees was donated by Minister Sajid Premadasa for the development of the Asanagala Sri Abhinavarama temple in Ranminithanna Tissamaharama.
At one time, divisions in the Sangha was at the top of the political agenda. The objective was to create divisions in the Sangha to achieve political ambitions. There needs to be a stop to all attempts made to drag in the Mahasangha into politics. The government of good governance is implementing a positive policy. At one time, plans were drawn to do away with the Malwathu chapter of the Siam sect. Why was that done? It was not done for the betterment of Buddhism. It was done to achieve the petty political ambitions of some. Our duty is to create a society of brotherhood, reconciliation and unity and not create divisions. We must protect the temples in the village and city.
32 trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board continue to stage their hunger strike over several demands. The hunger strike has now entered its 6th day.
The trade unions have been staging their hunger strike opposite the CEB head office since Monday. The hunger strike was launched over the slashing of their annual bonus and the incentives granted for medical leave. The CEB workers say they would resort to other measures come this Monday if solutions are not provided as promised.
The CEB management has verbally assured us that solutions would be given by this Monday, but we do not trust the CEB and the ministry, so we will continue this hunger strike until we receive an assurance in writing. We believe the top management of the CEB has an intent of avoiding this, heading into an indefinite strike. We call on the rulers to immediately stop slashing the overtime payment and bonuses of those who spoke up against the thieves. The trade union representatives have been patient up to now only because of the GCE ordinary level examination. But if the rulers have no regard for this, if they are not holding any accountability and if they do not give us a response by 12 noon on Monday, we will transform this hunger strike to an island-wide strike action.
We'll be right back after this short break.
Add a touch of class. Switch on style with Kevilton modular switches.
Welcome back to the news. Well, there's an old saying, elephants never forget. While it may be an exaggeration, there is more truth to the adage that you might realize. And a living example for that is an elephant called Galgamue Chandi. Now, this elephant is of the habit to return to its original grazing ground, not matter how far it is taken away. Tomorrow, wildlife officials will once again make the attempt to take this elephant back to the Horopatana Elephant Protection Center.
In 2008, the wild elephant known as Chandi was captured and moved to the Somavati Forest Reserve and to the Horopatana Elephant Protection Center last year. In both occasions, the elephant escaped the enclosure and made its way back to its grazing ground in Galgamua, surprising the local population and the authorities. The elephant, which is roaming in the Atheweva Digana and Bamunugama villages over the recent day, caused massive property damage. An operation was launched on the 12th of December to capture and move Chandi once again back to the Horopatana Elephant Protection Centre. The operation is headed by wildlife veterinarian Dr. Chandi Jayasinghe.
When the elephant was captured and moved to Somawati, the first time a GPS tracking belt was placed around its neck. It escaped and returned to Adwaba. He travelled 243 kilometres in a period of just 8 days. Then last year he was taken to the Horopatana Elephant Protection Centre. He escaped and returned back to its home. I do not understand why they are trying to capture and move it for the third time. There may be two reasons. One is because the people are at risk due to this elephant. If not, the elephant is in danger because of the people. No matter where you take this elephant to, he will just come back home.
Chandi has returned home once again, and today the wildlife team led by Dr. Chandi Jayasinghe took steps to capture it again. Dr. Jayasinghe says Chandi is surrounded by other elephants from the herd. They found it extremely difficult to tranquilize it. Tomorrow, Chandi will be taken back to the Horopatana Elephant Protection Centre.
That's a wrap of the weekend edition. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'm Joel Outscoon. Have yourself a great evening ahead.